The Edward Bellamy House in Chicopee, Massachusetts is a historic house museum named after its most prominent former resident, 19th century utopian novelist Edward Bellamy. While less well known today, he was internationally renowned in his day. Come join us on a quick tour of the Bellamy House's parlors to learn a little more about Edward and his family. Edward Bellamy was born on March 26, 1850, and was the third of 4 boys. His family moved into this house in 1853, and except for a few brief periods of time away, Edward lived here for the rest of his life. His mother, Maria Putnam, came from a family that believed in education for women, and his father, Rufus, was the local Baptist minister whose religious beliefs tended to be more liberal than traditional. While religion was an important part of his upbringing and there were ministers on both sides of his family tree, Edward chose a very different career path. At a young age, he wanted to serve in the military. However, in 1867, he failed the physical examination for West Point. The following year, he traveled around Germany with his cousin, where he saw the effects of the Industrial Revolution firsthand. While Chicopee Falls was nowhere near as industrialized as parts of Europe, Edward later wrote, "I had now no difficulty in recognizing in America, and even my own comparatively prosperous village, the same conditions in course of progressive development." When he returned home, he studied law and was admitted to the bar in 1871. However, he was disillusioned with the profession after just one case in which he was asked to represent a landlord against a widow. After taking some time to figure out what to do next, he turned to writing. Although he died of tuberculosis at just 48 years old, Edward Bellamy was a prolific writer. According to his daughter Marion, he wrote Equality, his final novel, at this desk. This was just one work among the hundreds of editorials, 23 short stories, 6 novels, and the 3-volume newspaper that he penned or contributed to over the course of 27 years. In 1871, his cousin William Packer helped get him a job writing editorials for the New York Evening Post. For the next 5.5 years, he was a literary editor and editorial writer for the Springfield Union, and in 1880 he founded what became the Springfield Daily News with his brother Charles. Around the same time, Bellamy also began experimenting with fiction. He wrote and published a number of short stories beginning in 1875, and he anonymously published his first novel, 6-to-1 on Nantucket Idol, in 1878. His first work of more serious, longer fiction was serialized in another Massachusetts newspaper, the Berkshire Courier, in 1879. Written as historical fiction, The Duke of Stockbridge was about a Revolutionary War soldier who participated in Shays's rebellion, leading a group of men in armed rebellion against taxes, debt collectors, and the local courts. The story was set in the 1780s, but it was written as a critique of the economic situation of the 1870s. 9 years and 3 novels later, Bellamy published his best-known work, Looking Backward. Disguised as a romance, it offers solutions to the social and economic problems of the Gilded Age through the story of Julian West. West falls asleep in 1887 and wakes up again in the year 2000, only to discover that a cooperative system has replaced capitalism. Bellamy was inspired to write the story by the industrial growth that was evident in his own community, as well as by his children, whom he hoped would inherit a better, more just society. Looking Backward became a bestseller and gained popularity around the world. In the United States, it inspired a reform movement called nationalism, which bore many similarities to the populist movement of the 1880s and 1890s. The term nationalism referred to the nationalization of industry, which the book proposed. Clubs formed around the country to promote his ideas, and Bellamy himself briefly published a weekly newspaper called The New Nation from 1891 to 1894. The paper encouraged the nationalization of railroads and communications, criticized the current industrial system, and published reports and analysis of important events in America and around the world. Equality, which was published in 1897, was a sequel to Looking Backward. It was an instant bestseller, but it was unable to capture the imagination of the public because it read less like a novel and more like a series of essays. Bellamy, however, considered it to be his greatest work. Of course, Bellamy's family was an important influence on his life and work. You've already met his father Rufus and his mother Maria. Although he lost faith in organized religion, The moral examples that his parents set guided Edward throughout his life. In 1882, Edward married Emma Sanderson, who had previously been a ward of his parents. They had 2 children, Paul, born in 1884, and Marion, born in 1886. Emma was musically talented, and according to Marion, would play a melodeon similar to this one and sing for her family. After her husband's death, Emma spent the rest of her life speaking and writing about her husband to ensure that his ideas were not forgotten. She corresponded with people around the world, and in 1935 even testified before Congress in support of a bill that would have extended benefits to all workers. Marion was a teacher, and like her mother, was devoted to keeping her father's literary legacy alive. She was a founding member of the Edward Bellamy Memorial Association, the organization that owns and maintains the Bellamy House. Paul Bellamy followed his father into the newspaper industry, eventually becoming editor of the Cleveland Plain Dealer. We hope you have enjoyed this brief introduction to Edward Bellamy and his former home. The Edward Bellamy Memorial Association has maintained the Bellamy House since 1975 and continues to collect, preserve, describe, exhibit, interpret, and allow researchers access to materials related to Edward Bellamy and the history of Chicopee. You can visit our website, edwardbellamyhouse.org, for more information.